ain't no regular thing. I came for the ring, you know what I mean. I shoot my shot and it's clean. This for my city, yeah, this for my team. If you talking, it's all to me nice. I play with all of my life. You see my name in the lights. Better get right, I'm a champion. I'm a team. If you talking, it's all to me nice. I play with all of my life. You see my name in the lights. Better get right, I'm a champion.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a YSN Live for this Wednesday, the 29th of January, 2025. DJ Yoakley with you, flying solo for a little bit today. Anthony's still out recovering, but we do have Wrestling Wednesday to look forward to. Gary Altizer will join us here in just a little bit. We'll talk all things that were wrestling from last week, all things that are wrestling this week, and all things that are to come in the weeks to come, which is, well, it's going to be tournament time here before you know it. So we're excited to have Gary on, as always, on these Wrestling Wednesdays. You might notice I'm not at athletics today. Might notice that at the old homestead, trying to get well myself, trying to bounce back with a little cold, the sniffles, nothing serious, but trying to catch up on some rest, and naturally the rest of the Yoakley house trying to bounce back as well. Everybody kind of feeling the ill effects of what this winter has had to offer. But I wanted to make sure that we got a show up. You're going to get a lot of that today. Not that you don't every other day. But so please apologize. I apologize for that. And please excuse the coughs throughout the show. I'll try to mute as much as I can. This show is brought to you, this segment brought to you thanks to our friends at Greenwood Chevrolet. They always go the extra mile for you. So if you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, make sure you hit up our friends in Austintown over at Greenwood Chevrolet. The greatest people you'll know, Greg Greenwood. Again, I don't think you can even put words to what he's been able to do, not only just for us at YSN, but for the community across the board, from pillar to post. Greenwood seemingly everywhere. And every time that there is something to be donated, every time there is something to be cherished, you know that Greg Greenwood's going to put his name on it, because he believes in not only youth sports, but the youth in general in this area. Wholeheartedly believes in this area. So thanks to Greg Greenwood and Greenwood Chevrolet folks for always supporting what we do here at YSN. Let's get a look at the scoreboard from last night. And boy, oh boy, are there a ton of scores to take a look at. You just roll, baby, roll, right? You look at the girls' basketball scores from last night. McDonald with a nice win over Sebring, 52-30. They were in control of that one pretty much from the jump. United getting a win over Valley Christian. Final score 49-23. So kudos and congratulations to the Lady Eagles in a big EOAC win. And Springfield, big win for Springfield over Lowellville. Coach Matizzi getting his, I believe, 100th win, if I'm not mistaken. So congratulations to him in his victory. Let's get to the boys basketball, because, I mean, you see it. We got four pieces of it across the board, 4 rows, and then it just endless. Let's go with Lordstown coming up short against Wyndham, 62-23. Lakeside gets cut in half by West Geauga, 80-40. Perry is coming up short against Jefferson to the tune of 72-64. We had Salem and Girard going at it, and the Quakers get the dub by 4, 61-57. Brookfield coming up short against LeBray. Again, Wilson and Rowe, the real deal, the 1-2 punch for the Vikings. And they showed it last night, I think 28 and 24 points respectively for Wilson and Rowe. So LeBray keeps on rolling. Austintown Fitch, shortcomings against Boardman last night, 74-70, your final score there. Archbishop Hoban, Ty talked about Hoban being potentially one of the best teams as we head down the stretch. They proved it last night. 95 points scored And anytime you put up close to 100, you know you're doing something right. So TK doing a great job as always, and certainly putting Holy Name to the test. And Holy Name comes up short, as we mentioned, 95-44 to the Knights. West Branch gets a big victory on the road, 56-53, your final there. Lots of close scores last night. My game included the one in Lisbon. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Canfield gets a win over Howland in the AAC, 56-37. Cardinal Mooney coming up short against Cheney last night in a great athletic contest, 51-44, your final score there. Southeast getting the best of Champion, 59-38, and it was Newton Falls getting the better of Crestview in a slugfest, 56-45. Jackson Milton getting a huge overtime win over Waterloo by 2, 57-55. Congratulations to Jackson Milton, who continue to churn out some of these tough games at the very end and even into overtime, as they saw last night. Struthers 71, or excuse me, Hubbard 71, Struthers 66, an NE8 battle in the field house, and Hubbard comes out on top on the road. Fairport Harding gets the best of Grand Valley in a 66-55 final score. I talked about this game. East Palestine and Lisbon, 57-55. Lisbon gets the victory. Boy, was this game close. It was separated at times. We're going to talk about it in more depth here in just a moment. But tell you what, Lisbon started out with a 9-2 run. Clark Rutledge comes off the bench. The freshman for East Palestine sparks the Bulldogs offensively. Next thing you know, the East Palestine Bulldogs have the lead going into halftime. Seconds left on the clock, and AJ Ramjeet splashes from deep with no time left on the clock, makes it 28-28. Lisbon comes out strong in the second half and really just turned the tides of that game. And in those few seconds, we're going to talk about kind of how this one transpired to be, but more importantly, how important the last few minutes, couple minutes of a game, of a half, and the first few minutes of the next half are when it comes to high school basketball. Back to the EOAC, where Wellsville took care of business last night against Leetonia, 70-48. Garrettsville Garfield gets the win, 58-50 over Liberty. And you've got East coming up short against Madison last night to the tune of 58-52. Marlington comes up short against the powerhouse that is Louisville, the program, as they're often referred to now. Niles coming up short against Poland last night, who continues to roll and look, pardon me, looking to keep pace in the 88. Ursuline continues their powerhouse season, 79-65 over NDCL. You've got Beaver Local, who beats Minerva by a deuce. Another close game on the scoreboard last night. Matthews all over Maplewood to the tune of 50-27. Orange with a wonderful win last night over Midview. What a great game. Excuse me, pardon me. 57-55, your final score there. Another 2-point game, which is incredible. Pymatuning Valley, 69. Badger, 54. A tough loss for the Braves, but the Lakers get a big win for their program, their season. St. John gets it up to 72, and they win by 9 over Conneaut. That's your final score there. South Range with a convincing victory over Lakeview, 69-51 on the road. South Range continues to roll and set the tone in the NE8. Western Reserve, 55, and it was Camo Memorial, 57. Another 2-point game last night. I mean, they were everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's a 2-point game or a 1-possession, 2-possession game. This is kind of basketball you want as we head into February. United Boys coming up short to Valley Christian, who just continues to showcase their talent night in and night out. 67-30, your final score. Lowellville coming up short against Springfield, 61-52. Where'd it go? There we go. We've got Southern coming up short against Columbiana. Columbiana wins by 8 to the score of 67-59. Todd Johnson continues to steamroll through that EOAC. It's his brother-in-law of Lisbon, Chris Huxell. That is going to be potentially bragging rights again between those two teams as we head down the stretch. Hop over to the Keystone State for a minute, where Beaver gets the win over Hopewell 70-57. Then we've got in Weir, West Virginia, the Potters took care of business, represented Ohio very well to the tune of 71-42. Mohawk gets it done 61-44. And then finally, last night, we had McDonald, Coach Francischelli, all over the Sebring Trojans, 73-29. That is your scoreboard, and it's all brought to you thanks to our friends at Burnett Pool Spas and Hot Tubs. Cannot thank them enough. Will Otis and the whole gang over there, just family owned and operated for so long, and they do such a good job, and they support us so much throughout the year. And man, tell you what, with this cold, this cough, and I might be able to stop up and see my buddy Will and see if I can get a hot tub installed at the old Casa. Because, I mean, I got a lot of stuff, but I don't have a hot tub yet. That might be the missing piece, the piece de la resistance, so to speak, here in Casa de Yoakley, the Yoakley Ranch. So we'll have to check it out. Again, thanks to our friends at Burnett Pool Spas and Hot Tubs, continuously sponsoring. And if you'd like to sponsor or advertise on your sports network, you saw all the scores that we had last night. We had a ton of games last night broadcasted. We've got more tonight. I'll be in Mineral Ridge for a doubleheader there. Excited to have that one against Lowellville. And then naturally, we'll have even more games on ysnlive.com/live. So make sure you get there. And again, if you'd like to advertise, ysnlive.com/advertise. Simple, easy, best bang for your buck. You're not going to find it like that anywhere else. And you're going to, it's prime time all the time, folks. Prime time all the time. People are coming specifically to YSN to watch sports, to watch their local heroes, and to watch your sons and daughters of your community take part, take place, and take aim at their competition. So if you'd like to be a part of that, certainly we'd love to have you here on the network, no matter what it looks like, and certainly wherever you want to be. Yeah, that's my pitch. That's my promo for advertising. We do have Wrestling Wednesday today for you again. I think Scotty Mincher. Let's check the old device. No updates from Scotty yet. I think we're going to have a Mincher Wednesday. I think we are. So we'll have to see and find out. I'm sure he wants to talk a little bit about, he got to do a game the other night. We did a game together on Monday. It was a girls' game. It was South Range and Lakeview. And Scotty did a fantastic job, as he always does. Scotty did a fantastic job. Was excited to be there. Loves getting in the captain's seat and just rolling and talking about sports. And he was shouting out, and it was my spark yesterday, shouting out 3 cola every time there was a 3 that was hit from deep. So very, very cool. And I hope that he's able to come on today and talk about his side of things and what he sees through his lens. So we'll check that out. We are going to take a quick break as we await the arrival of the legend, of the tribal chief of our wrestling division, Gary Altizer. We'll take a break. Be right back on your home for all things wrestling. You are watching your sports network.
Sheely's is more than a furniture store. We're a hub for all of your appliance needs. We offer the widest selection at everyday low prices, with over $1 million of in-stock inventory from Whirlpool, KitchenAid, LG, GE, and more. Our knowledgeable, no-pressure sales staff can help you find the perfect appliances for your home. We're there for you beyond your purchase to service what we sell and offer free local delivery with 24-month special financing. Sheely's, the best things in life happen at home.
House troubles can attack anytime. When trouble strikes, call Mighty Mike. Your hometown hero is on his way. HVAC causing havoc? Has your furnace gone mad? Mighty Mike Heating and Cooling will save the day. Commercial or residential, 24/7. For quality service you can depend on, call your hometown hero. Call Mighty Mike.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa.
And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing.
Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships.
We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team.
Your goals, our game plan.
Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Why choose local? Because you live here, work here, learn here, relax here, and celebrate here. 21 WFMJ is our Valley's only locally owned TV station, and our focus is local. Other TV stations don't have that same focus, as their owners are somewhere else. But 21 WFMJ is rooted in the Valley. Local people making decisions that affect your life, right here where you live.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to YSN Live. DJ Yokley with you. During the break, saw a familiar face pop up in the queue in the green room. So we, at this time, welcome one of the legends of your sports network, a guy that, like the Beach Boys, gets around. Ladies and gentlemen, his name, Scotty Mincher. Hello, Scotty.
Hello. It's great to be on again, and I send my apologies for my tardiness because I had to use I'm usually on at 1 and I was kind of all out of whack. So I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You're more than welcome to still be on at 1. I just wanted to make sure that you had the link, obviously. Scotty, I talked about it before we went to break. You had we had the distinct privilege of having you on the network on one of our games. You did South Range and Lakeview this past Monday night. What was that like for you to get back, into the swing of things and call some game?
Yeah, it was great. It was really, I kind of felt like so exhilarated. It was one of those things I really wanted to get back into it. There's like the holidays and, it's cold outside, and then there's Christmas and New Year's. And I don't know about you, DJ, but after the holidays are all over and it's like super cold, you kind of get like that. Like sometimes you could get a little down. So being able to announce a game, and I just, kept looking at the schedule, and I'm like, I got to get out to do a game. I'm getting that itch. It's like everywhere on me. So I really wanted to do it and just feel like I was accomplishing something with the team again, and to be able to do it with you and to call our first basketball game together. I think we did baseball quite a few years ago, but to be able to do our first basketball game together, it made it that much more special.
Well, we certainly don't want you getting down other than if it's on the dance floor. And certainly we got to make sure you take care of that itch. Get some lotions or something to get rid of that itch because we don't want anything like that. You did a basketball game. One thing maybe down the road we get you doing is a little wrestling commentary. And with that is a perfect segue into our dear friend, the tribal chief of our wrestling division. Ladies and gentlemen, the pride of the Wellsville Tigers, Gary Altizer. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Gary.
What's up, guys? I want to see Scotty break it down. I want to see this. I think everybody deserves to see it. What do you think, DJ?
Scotty, can you do a dance for us?
Do a dance? I can raise the roof.
Raise the roof, baby. I love it.
And I got a little bit of.
Oh, man, look at him go. He's been practicing. Yeah.
Those ladies won't be able to keep their hands off you on the dance floor, buddy.
I don't know about that, but I sometimes I can't help myself. Gotta break out the moves, especially if Gary wants it, because I'm always afraid he's gonna put that Win Dixie down on me. So
Oh boy, Scotty loves that move. That's all I know.
The Win Dixie.
Yes.
Gee,
You have to-
it's been an interesting week, obviously, in wrestling. We talked about it, recapped a little bit last week. How did things go? I mean, if you were looking at this week, as we are now with a lens that we can see everything perfectly, 2020 vision, who had the best week, and who are the people that we should be keeping our eyes on as we turn to this week?
Well, Austintown Fitch in that Hepner tournament, they came in second place, super close tournament with Clear Fork, 303 to 306 in points scored. That's a crazy amount of points. So, they did a great job. They just barely missed out on the championship, but there were some crazy good teams at this tournament. Mentor, Rootstown, North Royalton. Those are the top five. Medina finished sixth. Uniontown, Lake Brunswick, Marlington, and Highland Moreno were in the top 10. Massillon, Washington, 11th. I mean, that's just a name of a bunch of really good teams. So for Fitch to come in second like that, they really had a great tournament. As far as the small school tournament goes, there was one in East Palestine, and Brookfield and Western Reserve tied for second place at that East Palestine Bulldog Invitational. So those are the local teams that did really well this past weekend. And then there was also the Buckeye local tournament, which is way down south, but I do believe that Edison was there and possibly one other, maybe East Liverpool, but Indian Valley won that tournament. That's Indian Valley. I'm sure anybody that watches high school football knows about them. I believe they were Division IV state champs this past season. They won that tournament, but I think Fitch had the best weekend, if you ask me, coming through at that Hepner tournament.
And that Hepner tournament's one that everybody talks about. It's that one that everybody looks forward to have a tournament that big in this area that is, I mean, people point to, like I mentioned. I mean, that's a big deal, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking right now, 34 teams for a one-day event at a local school. That's a ton of schools to be there, even a two-day event, whatever it is. Yes, it's a big tournament. And like we said, we're now headed into the last month of the season. So that, this weekend here is kind of the last weekend for the big tournaments. So you're heading into the last month. You might have like your conference tournament and some duels to go, maybe one other tournament other than that. And then you're trying to rest up the final 2 weeks for sectional. So having that kind of momentum, doing well in the tournament like that, heading into the final month is definitely big for the program.
February being a do or die month, for a lot of these programs, a lot of these, individual wrestlers. When you look at, the history, I mean, are there just wrestlers that come out of nowhere that are completely off the grid, under the radar, that come on in February and ride that momentum into the playoffs, into the tournament?
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll see that sometimes where there'll be a kid who will either not be somebody you will expect to get to the state tournament, or somebody you're not going to expect to get on the podium and even win the tournament. I remember a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, there was a kid from Mogador who I think at best was a state qualifier before, and maybe a fourth place finisher at the district tournament, went on to win the state title by winning a couple of overtime matches. And there's a website called Dubstat who they look into who the wrestler was, who they wrestled during the season, what their expectations were, and who overperformed where their expectations were. And that kid by far was the number one wrestler in the state to do that. You'll see that sometimes. You'll see kids that hover around a 500 record, then they just go on a run where they're kind of in the zone, and they have a great sectional tournament, and in the districts they've just changed their mind. They're not going to be denied. They get through to the state tournament, and it really just everything comes together at different times of the season for different kids, and at different times of their career. And you'll see the opposite happen too. Every year you'll see guys ranked really high who are expected to maybe be on the podium in the top 8 of the state, will be in the running for a state championship, and they don't even make it to the tournament. They're burnout, or They get a couple of kids that are on fire, or they get caught in a bad move, and they get knocked out, and then they're in the blood round, and that's really where you find out if you really want to get to the state tournament. That's the blood round is what we call the match. If you win, you go to state. If you don't win, you're out. So that's where you see heart. That's where you see the guys that want it most. And you have bad luck in the semis or the quarterfinals, and you're back down in the blood round, and then you catch a kid who's on fire, or you catch yourself in a bad move and you get caught on your back, your season could be over.
Garrett, from a standpoint of preparation and planning, I mean, wrestling is different than I think most other sports in the fact that there's not much film to see on your opponent. For some reason, schools haven't figured it out to use Huddle, or I mean, very rarely do you get tape. There's not film study. You guys are always in the room, so to speak. But it's a lot based on you versus you. Why is that? Why is there not much film study in the sport of wrestling to this point?
I mean, it's not formal like the Huddle. It's not like, hey, what it used to be back in the old days where coaches would trade tape with each other, and now everybody's on Huddle and you can just go and watch every single play from every team. I don't know why it hasn't gotten to that point. I mean, that would mean that every school would have to have the same camera set up in the gym, and then they'd have to be able to cover all of the mats, which aren't easy, or logistically speaking, it's just not the same. Or you'd have to have a separate camera for each corner that the mats are in.
Right.
And like at the Waterloo tournament, they've got 2 gyms. They use 2 gyms, plus they use their wrestling room, plus they use the this little like auditoria area outside of the junior high gym, which I don't know, maybe they have their lunch there. So you'd have to be able to have these cameras set up everywhere. It's logistical nightmare when trying to do that. And I know there used to be some kind of a rule about recording individual matches. I don't know if that's still the case or not. But the thing is, I don't know that you actually need to in a lot of cases. Now, of course, when you get onto the district and state tournament and you're seeing guys that you've never seen before, having some film on them and some knowledge of how they wrestle is great. But during the season, you see a lot of these kids. You'll see them. You can take mental notes. You can watch. Maybe you wrestling them already, and you're going to see them again. So I guess in that aspect, you don't need it as much because over the years you've seen them. But I guess for a first time wrestling someone, it would be nice. I don't know, maybe if somebody figures that out, but I think the problem is more to do with the equipment, the logistics, and then everybody having the same thing and putting it in the same pool, same database for people to look at.
I guess naturally, yeah, it would be a logistical nightmare, with the cords and all the different cameras, like you said. Do you think there would be an advantage? Do you think wrestling could take that next step if they did that, have that technology component that you could study and you could do some extra preparation for your opponents every week?
Oh, absolutely. And it's already being done because, I mean, there are a lot of parents who put their kids' matches on Facebook. And I don't know, there's a lot of people who unknowingly are giving their opponent, a free scouting report by doing that. That's just the truth of the matter because of social media, kids even posting their matches or their, highlights of matches. So it can absolutely be done. And it's already being done, no doubt about it. I just don't think it's being done in a formal way. And maybe if somebody figures out how to do that, they'll make a lot of money because the wrestling community is loyal. They are, they're willing to do whatever. And they're very, I'll use an example. They're very aggressive. There's a brand called Rudis. They are a clothing brand, and they cater to basically high school and college wrestlers. And they just started out as this really super small company in Ohio. But once everybody caught wind that this was catered to wrestlers, I mean, you go to a wrestling tournament, you're going to see nothing but Rudis everywhere. And people embraced it. And they embraced that the company wanted to serve wrestlers in the wrestling community. And I'm wearing a sweatshirt right now from them. They make great clothes. But other than that, I want to support someone who wants to get into the high school wrestling arena, who wants to support our kids, wants to bring the exposure, and wants to make equipment and clothing catered to us.
Hey, Rudis, don't worry. We'll send you the invoice. You can look for via YSN CC Gary Altizer. From a standpoint of you said loyalty, and I think when you think and talk about wrestling, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Is there are some obsessed parents and obsessed student athletes with wrestling, so much so that we've seen players and student athletes single out and say, hey, wrestling's it, the same way they do in other sports. But because wrestling doesn't get necessarily that fever pitch attention that football gets, that basketball gets, there is an obsession borderline for wrestling. Why and how did that come about? Has it always been like that, or is it more and more excuse me, now since social media has come around, like you mentioned before?
Yeah, it's always been like that to an extent, but of course it's more now than it's ever been. And like you said, with social media and with communication the way it is, it's easy to find out who is good, who offers the camps, who offers the clubs, who offers the place to go and get the good work, who can you go and learn from. So there are a lot more opportunities out there, and there's a lot easier way to find the opportunities. But at the same time, I think it's unique because the sport rewards you when you work hard. That's just the bottom line. You could say that about all sports, but you also have to get the playing time, and you also have to beat out the guy at the position that you want. And you also have to get the plays drawn up for you. All those things have to come into unison. With wrestling, you don't have that. It's you on the mat. Everybody gets on the mat. So you're going to get on the mat and you're going to get rewarded if you work hard, because you're going to get the opportunity. Now, yes, you could have to beat out someone at your weight to get the varsity spot, but everybody gets to wrestle. In almost all tournaments, they will take the extra guys and still put them in the tournament. They just won't score points for the team. So no matter what, you're going to get the opportunity, whereas in some other sports, you might not get the opportunity to do that. So because it rewards you when you work hard and you can see the results immediately. You don't have to wait for your opportunity. You don't have to wait to get out on the field or the court. You don't have to wait to the coach decides to put you in or those kind of things. You're going to see immediately that you get rewarded for your hard work because you're still getting the opportunity every single week to wrestle. That builds on itself. So the momentum comes because you're seeing it immediately. And if you want to do better, you'll keep working, and then it will keep going, and it just causes a snowball effect. And parents see that and they take hold of it. Hey, my kid wants to work hard. We're going to work hard. I'm going to do everything I can to get them the resources they need, give them the resources they need to get to the places they need to get better. And it turns into a 12-month-a-year sport.
That's crazy. All right, Scotty, I've been hogging the microphone so far. I'll pass it off to you and make sure that you can get some questions in as well.
Yeah, a big question I had for you, Gary. You were talking a moment ago, and you and DJ talked a bit about the social media era in today's day and age, and just obviously now with life and sports, everything is kind of magnified. And you talked about how, you have some kids that have big time expectations and they're expected to go on and do great things and, win a state championship. And then you'll have other kids where they just kind of come out of nowhere and they're not much is expected and they're really successful. So my question to you, Gary, kind of piggybacking off of that a little bit, do you think that expectations, like if you were coming up now, how would you rather have it? Would you want the expectations, and do you think a lot has to do with, like we talk about a lot more, has to do with the mental side of it than physical? Because most of these guys, you would think they're going to be in pretty good shape. So do you think it's just that mental barrier is harder? Do you like that like the expectations because that means you're really good and people think you could be sort of, legendary when your career in wrestling is over. What do you think about that? Or would you rather kind of
Scotty, one question at a time. One question at a time. Jeez Louise, Scotty.
I know. I get out of camp.
Try to break that down, Gary.
I think I got what he's saying. Is it better to have the expectations on you so that you're keeping yourself sharp and your game at its best, or is it better to come out of nowhere? My experience with coaching, more expectations causes more pressure, and more pressure causes more anxiety, and more anxiety causes you to be tight when you wrestle, and you're not going to be at your best. Some kids thrive off of it, but I would say that by far kids that are loose wrestle better, and kids that are loose are usually kids that don't have expectations, and they're just out there having fun. They're not overthinking things. They're out there reacting. They're not thinking. They're just letting things happen. So when you get expectations on you, you just put more pressure on yourself. There's more stress, and that leads to not performing at your best because you're not out there reacting. You're out there thinking, and the way the sport works is best when you are loose. So I would say 100% no expectations and no pressure leads to a better result most of the time. Every kid's different. Some kids might like that. Some kids might need that to stay motivated. And that there's something to be said about that as well. Having expectations means that they're going to continue to work hard. So maybe that keeps them more accountable. But from what I've seen, the looser a kid is, the better they perform.
All right, Stone Cold Scotty Mincher. Now continue with your pummeling of Gary's face with these questions.
It's not intentional, believe me. It's just a habit I just can't seem to break. But I just wanted to know also, Gary, as far as when you wrestled, and we always talk about every week when we have people on the importance of the drilling partner, and we've talked about also some kids, they kind of get in the zone and they want to listen to music, and then some kids, they're too amped up if they listen to music. So I just want to know from you, how much in the years since you've wrestled and looking at the state of wrestling now, how much have things changed for the better? And is there anything that you think that was better back in your day when you first got started, even as a coach, that you kind of missed that it's not part of wrestling right now?
There's been a lot of things that have gotten better. The safety of the kids, it's a lot better now. The drastic weight cuts that used to happen don't happen anymore because of the hydration testing, the alpha test. You can't cut major weight like you used to. Anybody who wrestled before that rule came in will tell you stories of guys who've cut crazy amounts of weight. That was not healthy. So that's been a great thing. There are moves now that you can't do that you used to do in the past because they say they're dangerous. I'd say that's definitely better on the safety side. It does take away some opportunities, but at the same time, we're trying to advance the sport, and what we know about, health and safety, those things are better. I would say, if I'm being honest here, and I don't know, maybe I should not say this, but if something was better, I would say there was less criticism in the past of maybe the officials, and there seems to be a lot of cheerleaders, but there's also, because of social media, if you're negative, you can have a louder voice than you used to in the past. And things can kind of drag on a little bit. So I guess I'll say that was better. Whereas the naysayers, their voices died when they left the gym, because then it was over. Nowadays, because of social media, some of the negativity can hang around longer than it needs to. And basically the criticism that some people in the sport receive, it was done after the match was over, and now it can linger on. But I would say overall, there is a lot more good that's happened than bad. The things that I'm saying that are worse, that's life. That's just the way it goes. And it's not just in wrestling, it's in everything in life, and everything that you do. You make a mistake today, you're going to hear about it forever, maybe, because people aren't letting things go and they want to bring them up. Or if it's online, it's not getting erased. But overall, I think the sport has gotten better. And I would take it today over how it was in the past in a lot of aspects. And I think that the sport now, the wrestlers that we have now, the technical wrestlers, the moves that we have, the ability on the mat is so much better than it used to be. When I watch matches from, in the past, and I see how they're wrestling compared to today, and the moves and the positions the guys can put themselves in and get out of, it's really crazy to see the advancement in the sport. I hope all that made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it made sense. All right, I got to ask you this question because you talked about it a little bit. And it immediately kind of stirred up a red flag, or I don't even know if it's a red flag, but just an interesting idea and concept. Scotty mentioned you wrestling in all those decades ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Garrett, did you ever, as you were going through your career, did you ever think, hey, I think I want to coach this. I want to be a wrestling coach and in some capacity give back to, the sport like you have done and become the voice of the sport here on YSN?
Yeah. I always thought about that. I love the sport. It changed me as a person for the better. And more than that, I just love my community, and I wanted to be here. I don't ever want to coach anywhere else. I don't have any desire to do that. I love the sport, but I'm doing it here because I love the kids here and the community here. And it was always, a thought in my head that I would love to do it someday. I didn't, honestly, if I'm being dead honest, when I was younger, I didn't think I'd ever be able to. I didn't think I'd ever have the opportunity to. And I certainly didn't think I'd be doing it for 10 years now. But I just think once you fall in love with the sport, if you have an opportunity to get back, you'll take advantage of it at some point. And I just took advantage of it. And I wasn't even the guy that they hired when I got the job. Somebody else was hired, and he quit on the first day. So I was called and asked if I wanted the job, and I took it then because I didn't want the kids to go without a coach. So I'm here because I want to be here and I want to do this, and I love the sport, and I loved it since I was a kid. And it's a very difficult sport, and it's challenging in a million different ways for everybody in the room, the kids, the coaches, the parents, because of how demanding it is. But I do think that it creates really positive things for your life for the rest of your life. And I believe that so much that I'm here still doing it. This is 19 years later.
That a baby, yeah. 19 years later. Jeez Louise, buddy, we're getting old.
Yes, very old. That's true.
Last question I have for you before we let you jet. There's a lot of we talked about last week. What do we have this week moving forward in next week that people should definitely put a pin on and keep focused and locked in on?
The conference tournaments are coming up. So, all of the local conferences are having their tournaments. They're getting those in now. Those always seem to be left to the end of the season. I don't have any right off the top of my head that I can think of because there's so many of them. But if your school has wrestling, there's a good chance that their conference tournament is coming up, or the conference dual requirements are coming up. So I know a lot of teams are doing a dual tournament where there are 6-7 of them meeting together. They're all wrestling each other that day in a dual format, or they're coming together for in a bracket type tournament. So those are the things to definitely look forward to. For us, for me personally, next weekend, a week from Saturday on February 8th, is the annual Buck Bailey tournament for us. So I am trying to nail down volunteers and donations to our coaches room and our concession stand. That's what I'm focusing right now. And my team, personally, we have a week off this weekend that is desperately needed because sickness and injury has hit us like it has the last couple years. And I've got to get my team healthy to get ready for the postseason that's coming up.
Hey, get healthy, Wellsville. Get healthy, boys. The Buck Bailey is one that is close, near and dear to my heart because that was one of the first wrestling things we ever did with the Reiner boys taking full
Yeah.
effect. We were in that gym for a long time, my friend. I think it was an 8-9 hour tournament. We had no expectations. We were so green when that thing happened, and we just plugged in things and did whatever we could. So the Buck Bailey always going to have my heart, my friend.
8 or 9 hours, you got out of that thing quick. Most of my Saturdays are about 15, so
we had to
you got
pull
out
the
of that
plug at
late.
one point, man. We were like, all right, there's like we had to go eat. We have families. They got
Yeah.
kids to feed.
Welcome to wrestling, DJ.
I know, man. You guys are just you're a different breed. You're aliens, is what you are. Scotty, do you have any last tidbits for Gary?
Yeah, I just had one more thing.
One.
Yeah, this is just one. I wanted to know, and we may have touched on this in a past show, Gary, but what is the thing you think in the time you've been a coach, and it doesn't have to be going back to year one, it could be from year 2 or year 3, but to now, and I believe this is your 10th year, what do you think you've improved the most with yourself as a coach?
Yes, year 10 as far as being the high school head coach. Good question, Scotty. What have I improved most as a coach? You know, I would say that I've learned probably how to reach the kids better. That would be the main thing, which every single year I question myself about. And I think that there's something to be said that of course, every kid is an individual, but so is every team. They all have kind of their own identities and what they listen to best. And I just try to not be set in stone with any way that I think about how to practice or how to reach the kids, because they change a lot. The society changes, the things that they like, things that they respond to change. So I would say being flexible and thinking outside the box is probably the way that I've changed the most and for the better. And I hope I continue to improve, because God knows I still got a lot of things to improve on, but trying to meet the kids where they are and advance them in any way that I can. No matter what way that I have to do that, I'll do that. And a lot of times it comes with a personal relationship with each kid.
Ladies and gentlemen, the tribal chief of our wrestling division here at YSN, the legend himself, Wellsville's very own, the pride of the Tigers, Gary Altizer. Gary, thank you so much, my brother. Thanks for stopping
Thanks,
by.
guys.
Can't wait to see you next week, dude.
Thanks,
All right,
Gary.
Take care.
There he goes. GA, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, wearing those stripes down in Tiger Town in Wellsville. Scotty, great questions. All of them, even like the 800 that you rattled off there in one sentence.
Yeah, constant work in progress, DJ. It's one of those things that's still a weakness of mine. Eventually, I'll lower the level of questions.
Buddy, you were just like Stone Cold. You ha 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 ha, just hammered down. It was. I'm like, all right, one question, two questions. I'm like, I wonder if Gary was able to download any of them, because he was getting ready to answer. You'd ask another question, so to me it was funny watching it transpire. And we're just having fun with you, man. You did a great job on that segment. You always do a great job, and you continue, just like Gary, you continue to get better every time that you pop on here. Wrestling.
Thank you. I had one question for you, DJ, if I'm able to ask, and this is just one now. We talked a little bit in the past, DJ. I remember doing a show with you, and I was asking you, how do you balance your broadcasting style when you call a game and make sure that your own personality shines, but you also, obviously, when you're broadcasting, you take something from somebody else, some sort of style. And I guess my question is, I just wanted to know, how do you make sure you don't get stale, like when you're announcing so many games? Like, how do you balance that, like not being redundant and maybe saying the same cliche things? It seems really hard because I haven't announced nearly as many as you have. Is it as hard as it seems for me?
I thought about that a lot when we first started. I still think about it from time to time, but I guess it boils down to you can't be too hard on yourself when you're doing a significant amount of games. I mean, like you said, we're doing, I think this week I have eight or nine games that I'm doing in a 7-day week. And that's even with, Sundays off, so off from broadcasting, not off from just working in general. But, I got to be really tough on myself and not trying to say the same thing twice. And it's very challenging because sometimes you get something that somebody likes, or you say something that somebody likes, or that rolls very well off your tongue, that that you want to make a catchphrase or whatever. I heard it. The best thing I heard this week was I was listening to Shaquille O'Neal talk, and he mentioned that he got to be such a good basketball player by taking a little bit of Michael Jordan, a little bit of Wilt Chamberlain, a little bit of, this player, that player, the other player. And he put it in his brain, Muhammad Ali, put it in his brain, and then out came Shaquille O'Neal. And, you're not going to do anything original. Everything you do is already probably being invented or done by somebody else prior to you. But what you can do is you can make it yours, and you can do it the way that you want it to be. That's what we did at YSN. Obviously we're not the first sports streaming service that's ever been, known to man, but we put our spin on it, and that's what I encourage our announcers to do. If you love Bob Costas, or you love Al Michaels, or you love, Tom Hamilton, there's no shame in trying to be like them and taking their pacing, or taking some of their taglines, or taking some of that, because it's not like stealing. You're paying homage to them. You're paying homage to them, and you're pointing to them and saying, "Hey, we appreciate what you've done for the sport, or what you've done for sports in general, and we're just trying to pay tribute to you." So, I know I've busted your chops about long questions. That's a long answer to a short question. But no, I don't beat myself up anymore trying to be necessarily original in the sense of, I'm not going to say the same thing twice in a broadcast or back-to-back broadcast.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to hear that, because sometimes I think, and I think it goes for a lot of people, sometimes I think I could be my own worst enemy. So you saying that, and just, the fact that you do so many games, and that basically, kind of like what you said, you're always taking something. Like, there was one soap opera, and then all of a sudden there were 50 soap operas.
Right.
So,
you watch a soap opera, Scotty? Is that what I'm getting from this?
Well, I used to check them because my mom would always have them on, and then I couldn't help myself. I would get enthralled in the story, the Young and the Restless.
You strike me as a Passions guy.
My jam back in the day.
Or a Days of Our Lives. You strike me as a Days of Our Lives gal.
I did catch that a little bit, and the Bold and the Beautiful as well.
You'd be a great a soap opera actor, Scotty.
You think so?
Yeah, you'd be great.
I think it would be a lot of fun.
Are those still on? Like, are those still around?
I really don't know, because since I moved out, of my parents' house. I really haven't, because my mom would always have it on when I lived there. But since I'm not there, like I don't know if she's still watching them, so I really don't know. But yeah, you would get sucked into it for sure.
Oh, would you? Oh, I mean, I can't say anything because I love wrestling, and that's what they say. It's a soap opera for guys.
Yeah, I wrestling.
Pro wrestling. Just so we're clear, so Gary doesn't come back on the show and completely give me punches and punches.
Was Stone Cold your favorite? Is that why you made that comparison?
No, I was an NWO guy with the WCW, and then I was Goldberg, and then I would say probably DX was kind of my thing, like because listen, I try to act like I'm some tough guy. I'm 5'4.5". I'm not beating up anybody. I probably wasn't doing much of that in school either. But like you want to be the tough guy. You want to be that. Now I've got a mouth on me, so I liked what DX did. I liked what the NWO did. I always wanted to be like the bad guy, but that's not my moniker. That's not who I am inside. So yeah, like it's like my wife says, it's always more fun to be the bad guy when it comes to stuff like that. So yeah, no, I wasn't Stone Cold. I was probably more of a DX guy. And then when John Cena came out, that was my dude. John Cena's been my dude. Hulk Hogan's my dude. Like I'm a good guy chaser.
I promise this will be it. Could I ask you one more question?
Yeah, you can ask me as many questions as you want now.
Okay. I just wanted to know, because there's been a lot of great there's been a lot of great big time wrestlers throughout the years, and really you're a couple years older than me, and when we were growing up, that was, wrestling was peak. It just started with the WrestleManias. But my question for you is, if you could go back in time and meet any wrestler that is no longer with us, like a Macho Man Randy Savage, Andre the Giant, Ultimate Warrior, etc., who would you want to meet?
Well, it didn't take you long to figure that one out, Scotty. You nailed it with your first pick. It would be the Macho Man. Yeah, madness. Yeah, nothing means nothing. Yeah, a cup of coffee in the big time. And the reason I didn't appreciate Macho the way that I do now. Macho Man Randy Savage was Randy Poffo, his real name, was such an entertainer. And he was so dedicated, so obsessed with being the greatest, even though he was undersized, that he never got the true opportunities that he deserved, that I thought he deserved. Looking back at it now, being a Hogan guy, I loved Hogan getting all the title shots. I loved being able, to see him carry the championship. I hated the Ultimate Warrior. Probably still hate the Ultimate Warrior. But Savage, man, his matches were phenomenal. And yeah, I would love to meet and interview Macho Man Randy Savage. His interviews were like, I don't know how Gene Okerlund held it together on some of those, but he was talking about some of the crazy stuff that he was talking about. I don't know how Okerlund kept a straight face.
Snap into a Slim Jim.
Yeah.
Our Bonesaw is ready.
See, those weren't even like, if you go back and you watch, like there's clips on YouTube you can watch. It's Randy Savage for like 20 minutes in his best interviews, and he just, I don't know if he's drunk or I know he didn't do drugs. So like if he was like just wigged out on something or cracked up, because dude, he was just talking gibberish for a while. Like nothing means nothing. What does that even mean? Nothing means nothing. Yeah. And then he'd talk about the video scope, and he'd talk about like cup of coffee. in the big time, and he's the cream of the crop, rises to the top. And then, I mean, it's incredible what Randy Savage was able to do. And, for people that don't know this already, there is a lot of entertainment value / WWE / WWF / all that stuff that goes into everything we do. There's a lot of showmanship that we put into what we do here at YSN. And some people get it, some people don't. But there's got to be an entertainment value to everything we put into, because otherwise it's just potatoes, right? They're not mashed. It's just a potato there. You got to figure out what to do with it. And I think we've done a really good job at mashing up those potatoes, putting some garlic, some salt, some butter, some cayenne pepper, maybe a little bit of sour cream, making that a nice mashed potato, and putting it out for the people to ingest. So I think that what we've done here is kind of best of all the different worlds, and bringing in the entertainment value of a WWE or WWF into the sports world that we have in the youth sports and the high school sports industry.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride, that's for sure.
Oh, we're just getting started, kid. Don't you worry.
Just getting started. I better buckle up, tighten that seatbelt.
I'm gonna walk into your room here, Scotty, into your apartment, and I'm gonna take that stupid brownie elf off the wall and give it a stone cold stunner, and then we're gonna use that as entertainment value too. Because that thing's I just don't like the way it's looking at me. I'll be honest with you.
Brownie the elf, he looks like he can't throw down too well, but he's tougher than he looks. I will say that.
We'll get you and Anthony, once Anthony gets better, we'll get you guys fighting again, like the old days.
Yeah, that'll be good. Anthony, he did have a beef with me for a while, because I not only did I not pick the Browns to win the Super Bowl this year, I didn't pick his Kansas City Chiefs. And now they're going for
who did you
3
pick?
in a row. So, if you remember back to the beginning of the season, I picked, I think it was the Packers out of the NFC.
Oh, wow.
So
wow.
That went terribly wrong. And then I picked the Jets.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. So it was terrible.
You just had an infatuation with green that day, or what?
Yeah, I don't know. Money is green. I've always had green. I love the Oakland A's, the gold and green uniform. So yeah, I just wanted to go all green. But
we get some comments from folks. Rob Johnson.
On roids or too many concussions.
That's. I mean, he could be right. We got a Piper vote from Will Rutledge up in Minnesota, and a Hulkster. I mean, Hulkster's the guy. I've got a Hulk Hogan autographed shirt my sister gave me for my 30th birthday over there. And I still have it. I gotta find it. He gave me a birthday before cameos were big. He gave me a birthday shout out, and it was he asked my sister. This is the best story ever. My sister used to work at with the Cavs. He came in to do something with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and she's like, "Hey, it's my brother's birthday. Will you do a quick, 10-second thing?" He's like, "Oh yeah, sure." And he, well, you know something, brother. You know something, DJ. It's your birthday, brother. Da 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 da. And he finishes it like he always does with the punch, into the camera, like that. And then he goes on to ask my sister, "That's awesome, happy birthday to brother. How old is he?" She goes, "He's 30. He thought I was 6 years old." Come on, Hulkster. Come on, Hulkster. Nobody knows you that's under the age of 30.
That is hilarious, man. I don't know if you remember, but he was in a couple movies in the 90s.
Mr. Nanny.
Yeah, I love Mr. Nanny with him and Sherman Hemsley when I was a kid.
Did you watch that before or after your soap operas?
I would watch it after the soap operas.
What about he was in Three Ninjas, wasn't he?
Was he in Three? I vaguely remember Three Ninjas, but I don't remember him being
Three Ninjas High Noon at something mountain. I forget what it was. You know who else? This is
and
the
there
one.
Was what was the other one? I think it was Suburban Commando.
Yeah, Suburban Commando. Yep. And then the one that always gets my wife. So the Big Show is in one of my favorite Christmas movie, Jingle All the Way. He plays the giant Santa when they're in the warehouse. And if you don't know Jingle All the Way, you can stop listening and watching at any point because I don't want to know you because that's the greatest Christmas movie there is. And then the second one, to me, probably the biggest shocker, and if you're a wrestling fan, you may know this already. Kevin Nash, Diesel, big sexy giant killer, is in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, and he plays the Super Shredder.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, I remember I used to have, I forget what it was called, but I had a wrestling game for Sega Genesis. And I would always, you remember Shawn Michaels?
Shawn Michaels?
Yeah, Shawn.
Who the hell is Shawn Michaels, Scotty? What is that, the Heartbreak Kid or the Heartbreak Dude?
You're the wrestling guru.
Shawn Michaels
Shawn
Michaels is the shirt that you get at the Rogers sale because it's not officially licensed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I remember Shawn Michaels. What about him?
I don't know. I used to always play with him when I did that. Him and the Undertaker when I wrestled in that game on Genesis.
Undertaker's a legend. I mean, wrestling back in the day, like when I was probably 7th, 8th grade. That was as good as it gets. The Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars, all that stuff. That's about as good as it gets. And I know we're probably sitting there. There's a lot of wrestling folks that are sitting there like, this isn't the wrestling that we tuned in for. We don't want to talk about WWF and WCW. It's what I know. You just had your 30 minutes with Gary Altizer. He's the GOAT. There's no comparing to Gary. Closest we could get is Fur Colucci, who is unavailable today. So you're going to have to deal with Scotty Mincher and DJ Oakley talking about the olden days.
Yeah, and calling wrestlers by their wrong name.
Shawn Michaels.
I was close.
Stone Cold Sam Austin. Oh. At least that'll be a great matchup with the Overtaker later on. So, all right, Scotty, let's put a bow on this bad boy. It's been a slap happy show for us. Another great Wednesday in the books. Let's get to our Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark, presented by Joe Dickey Electric. They are everything electrical. You can visit them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year at DickeyElectric.com. Scotty, your spark, spit it.
So my spark, this one is going to be short and sweet, so don't worry. As you know, DJ, I have a collection of fat heads in my room, and I have LeBron, I have Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett, and I recently, around the Christmas season, a little after, I got a Caitlin Clark fat head.
Whoa.
But I hadn't put her up in the room, but she's right next to Myles. So she's next to Myles Garrett, and my Browns flag is above her. But that is my spark. Caitlin, you know, she had that great rookie season, and now I'll always be ready for the Fever games because she's among the heads in my room. So that's my spark.
Well done, my friend. My spark, well, I have two ways I can go with this. I'm going to go with this one. And it has to do with, well, let's do two. Let's do them both. It has to do with the city of Pittsburgh and its professional teams. The first, my beloved Steelers, making Mr. Rooney coming out yesterday, 2 days ago, whatever it may be, and making the statement that it's going to be Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. And Russell Wilson was just elected to the Pro Bowl. Russell Wilson, who couldn't win a game in the last 5 games, including a playoff loss. The same Russell Wilson who checked down to the sideline anytime that there was even a wind blowing in his direction. And we are going to still put this guy in a Steelers form in Orlando, Florida, and participate and call him a Pro Bowler. We're done with the Pro Bowl. Just call it the Participation Bowl. This stinks. And I know J.J. Watt had the same take, but it's an absolute dead-on take. Why are we doing this? Why? Russell Wilson is not a Pro Bowler. He should not be a Pro Bowler. He was not that good. You can cut up all his stats and dice him up however you want. He's not that great. And just when I think that's going to be the worst thing that happens in Pittsburgh all week, God love him. There it is, right here. My beloved Pittsburgh Pirates. They need an outfielder. So what do? Do they go to the trade market? Do they open up the bank? Of course not. What do? They go and pick off the scrap heap. The same guy that they traded to San Diego 3-4 years ago for nobody. Adam Frazier got signed to a 1-year contract for $1.5 million. Dude, his season's over before it starts. I can't, I'm so sick of the Pirates right now. So sick of them. It's Paul Skeens. They brag about Paul Skeens. He's a marketing gem, obviously, because he's on the cover of MLB The Show this year alongside De La Cruz and Henderson. But they go out and get guys like Adam Frazier because they're cheap, and that's it. I mean, I could be wrong. He could turn into an MVP. Maybe he'll play in the Pro Bowl next year. From a standpoint of if the Steelers don't have enough guys or if he throws a couple first downs or check down passes. But right now, dude, not real happy with the state of Pittsburgh. Oh, and the Penguins freaking blow too. They stink. They're bad. That's my spark. All brought to you by Joe Dickey Electric. Visit them on the web at DickeyElectric.com. Scotty, that's the show. Any final thoughts?
I just wanted to say that, I saw that their owner, I think it was the Pirates owner, said he's not selling the team
Great
anytime soon.
Great.
Maybe they'll have a surprise season. The Reds seem to always screw it up. So I don't know, DJ. I feel for you as much as I can because I know you're Pirates. That's like my Browns. Like, you want to see, when it comes to the professional sports, you want to see that World Series more than anything. And that's the last thing I'll say is I still truly believe one day we will see a Guardians-Pirates World Series.
Oh, here we go. Hot take, Eric Hughes chiming in and defending Russ Wilson. That's exactly what we need, is the guy that has a Kenny Pickett jersey defending Russ Wilson and telling us that it was the worst tackles in the league. It was the slowest running back in the league, which is false, and the worst receiving core in football. Okay, so if Russ Wilson had the worst receiving core in football, why is it that he still was able to, for 4 games there, have 250 plus passing yards a game?
And Pickens, I mean, for what he is, off the field and the headlines, the buzz he creates, most teams, would, from a talent perspective, love to have somebody like that. So I don't know where.
And that's what the Steelers need to do. They need to ship Pickens out so that way they get something back, even in draft collateral, draft capital. I love Eric Hughes, but he is the biggest defender of the worst quarterbacks ever. Like, if Cordell Stewart was in the league right now, Eric Hughes would be all over him. He'd buy 6 jerseys. He'd be decked out with Cordell Stewart swag. Neil O'Donnell. I mean, you name it. Like, Russell Wilson stinks. He stinks. Awful. Terrible. God-awful. Bad take. Another hot take from Eric Hughes, which is no surprise. Scotty, that's the show. Thank you for stopping by. Can't wait to see you next Wednesday. Thanks for doing the game earlier this week. You did awesome as always, and naturally, you're always welcome, my friend.
Thank you, DJ. It's always a delight. I always look forward to Wednesday.
This last segment was brought to you thanks to Toyota of Warren. Make sure if you were in the area, and again, looking for new or used, and you're looking for a Toyota, I'll tell you what, there's only one place to go. Visit Tino and the whole crew at Toyota of Warren. It's the reason I've got 2 Toyotas sitting in the Yoakley garage. We got the Tundra. Bad promo, coughing. We got the Tundra with YSN all over it. We got the Pumpkin, the Jack-o'-lantern running down the road with the bright, vivid orange with the blacked out windows. My wife loves it. She loves her 4Runner. So thank you to Tino, and make sure you get your next Toyota at Toyota of Warren. That's the show, Scotty. YSN Live for this Wednesday, January 29, 2025. We'll see you for a YSN Live Thursday. Pat Carden joins us tomorrow on the network. See you.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports Network. For stories, stats, and more, go to ysnlive.com.